Hello everybody and welcome to the GKaiser Age. My name is Lucian GKaiser and today I'm going to be reviewing Bandai Tamashii Nation's DX Chogokin Macross VF-31F Siegfried Macer Ihlefeld use. And I absolutely love this figure. I got it a while back, but I'm bringing this review to you guys now and expect to see a lot more in the near future. So let's get started. GKaiser Age launching. Alright, so here we have the VF-31 Siegfried Valkyrie from Macross Delta. And I picked up this figure back in 2017. The original price in Japan was 21,600 yen, but translates of course over to a little over $200 here in the US. Now this particular figure is a very important part of my collection and I love it. I want to show you guys exactly why. So let's get started looking at all the details. So as I'm reviewing this figure, I just want to let you know you might see a few parts where some of the paint has chipped away, but it's very, very small, and it's mostly due to my handling of the figure, because, it's a very durable figure, and it handles very well, it's fun to play with, and I can't help but transform it a whole bunch. But as you can see, all the detailing on the fighter itself is just fantastic. There are a lot of panel lines and everything that you can see for the different mechanical parts. There are a lot of course, impressed detailing and lettering and wording on the figure itself. Caution signs, everything, marking all the different details of it. And then you've got, of course, the gun pod on the bottom here. You have, of course, the other guns, and it does come with points to where you can mount weapons that Bandai has released before. These weapons come from my Macross VF-19 special edition version, and as you can see, the mounting points work perfect and the weapons just line up excellent on this figure. And I'm glad they included that, because in the show you really didn't see it mounting too many weapons aside from the super armor and things like that. So it's really nice that they added that in. But it's just a fantastic, well-designed and well-detailed fighter mode, and I absolutely love it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cockpit itself. So it opens up, raises up, and you can see the Macer figure in there. Now, of course, Delta Squad works with, of course, the Delta Platoon and their singers, so we have to have enough room for, of course, his partner to sit in the cockpit, and lo and behold, they included that as an option, so you can pull this piece off of the back of the cockpit, exposing the second seat, and then just push that seat into place like this. And then it comes with, of course, the figure of his partner. And you can slide her right in the back seat as well. So we'll take a look at her figure real quick. And go ahead and slide her right in. Fits in there nice and neat. I always like to make sure she's seated properly, because if you don't, she'll bounce around in the cockpit. We don't want that to happen. And there we go. Now, some people complain about the cockpit glass not being clear, but I'm okay with that, because I've heard some of the other clear cockpit glass tends to get faded or get worn down over the years. And then, of course, you can see the ailerons can be manipulated. But there's a lot of fantastic detail on this figure, and it's one of the things that I love about the Macross DX Chogokin line from Bandai, is that they put a lot of love into their figures and the design. So let's go ahead and take a look at the holographic plate dispenser. So as you can see, these open up on the back side of the legs here, folded up in the fighter mode, and that's where it dispenses the holographic plates that are used by the Delta platoon during their performances in combat. They can generate shields, they can generate holographic images, things like that, and I love it. It's one of the aspects that I liked about the show. And you can see both of them open up nice and neat. A lot of nice detail mechanical wise inside there. Now on the Kairos, which is the military style version of this fighter, just a standard military fighter plane, those would be micro missile pods. And a part of me kind of wishes that there was an optional part to swap out the holographic plates with just more micro missile pods, but still, it's a great feature. I'm glad they included it and made it look so good. And here we have the thrust nozzles, which also make for the feet of the Roid Mode. Those can maneuver just a little bit. And then again on the underside. Now the interesting thing is I noticed that on the legs, and this is the antenna. The antenna is actually, you can pull it off quite nicely. It stays on there nice and tight, but you can pull it off in case you're doing the transformation, make the transformation easier. And then we've actually got the landing gear here. So we're going to go ahead and open these up. They are a little bit hard to get in there, but once you do, you just pull those out like that. Make sure they're nice and snug, and then you maneuver the wheels into position. Kind of a neat system. The only downside that I don't like is the fact that they sit so close to the ground versus where they're actually stowed in, so it's like a very tight clearance, but otherwise not bad. And then we're going to go ahead and open up the nose gear. So we've got the nose gear part here. Just pop these open. Once again, a little bit tight, but not too hard to get open. But I like the fact that they stay nice and neat and flush to the fighter plane. Some of the other landing gear on some of the older Valkyries had that issue where they would pop open slightly, but these stay nice and tight and closed. And it's got, of course, the nose hook for catapult. All right, and there we go. Just sit that right there. And it's just a fantastic looking fighter overall. I love it. So take another quick look here. The landing gear deployed. And now let's go ahead. We're going to put the landing gear back into place. Now you can close it with the wheels deployed, but as you can see, I'm just going to go ahead and put those back into the right position they should be. Sometimes I forget that I'm like, I wonder why the landing gear are poking out a little bit. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to fold up the wheels. There we go. Put those in. Alright. Now for the nose gear. Once again, push that down. Close those up. Push it in a little bit, and nice and tight. Alright, and the next thing we're going to take a look at is the engine covers. So normally these days just retract into the fighter itself, but on here you just pull them right off, and you can see the inner engine detailing there for the intake fans. But most of the time I just leave them on because it's just easier and less thing to worry about being lost. Some really great detail though. I love that Bandai puts that in. They don't have to. They could have just made it permanent engine covers. But it's great that they put that in for atmospheric flight effect. Alright, and put those right back on there. There we go. And excellent. And you can see the intake warning on the side there, the VF-31 Siegfried. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and take the weapons off, because we're going to transform this guy. Ooh, and the missiles like to fall off. That is an unfortunate side effect with the missiles from the YF-19, or VF-19 I should say is the version I got. but I just like to show the detail on the wings. Once again, a lot of tiny, nice markings, and those are all impressed onto the figure itself, so you don't have to worry about those like being actual decals. Alright, so that's fighter mode. Let's go ahead and take a look at Gerwalk mode. Alright, and here we have it in Gerwalk mode, and as you can see, the figure looks fantastic as well in here. It's very stable, very sturdy. You can get a lot of really great dynamic poses out of it in this mode as well. I kind of left the doors open from the transformation on the wings. Those are normally not supposed to be open on the bottom there. Didn't catch it until after I got to recording this, but that's alright. And let's go ahead and just take a closer look here. So as you can see, everything is still nice and neat and tight. The arms have these cannons mounted on the front of them. These are, of course, 25mm auto cannons. They are meant for disabling and incapacitating targets, which is part of the Delta platoon's job and mission. So these are great for just nailing arms or legs or taking out cameras, things like that on the enemy mecha, and basically making it easier to take them down without killing the pilots. Now let's take a look at one of the main big armaments. We've got the gun pod here. Alright, so this is the gun pod array. It also has a holographic imager and of course a recharge system. You just got to pull the little vent thing out for the array, and then you just pull the whole forward section out for its deployment. So as you can see, a lot of great detail in there. You open these up. Now this is used to recharge the holographic plates as well as provide extra energy and imaging for them. And then of course you have the gun pod. Now the older gun pods were an actual physical ammunition. This is a beam gun pod. They learned that lesson after the whole thing with the Vajra in Macross Delta or Macross Frontier. So no more solid gun pods, sadly. All beam gun pods here in this particular series, but it's a very high efficient, high power. As you can see, it rotates on this big array at the top that can be moved back, moved more forward, so whatever position you want to pose it in. But I love the look of it. The Gerwalk mode is just excellent, very well detailed, very stable. The legs and the knees and the feet are well designed to take care of making sure you can pose it any way you want with a very good balance to it. Alright, and as you can see, the arms are very posable once again. The legs can move up and down. And they have a very nice bend to them, so you can get some very unique poses. But all in all the details and everything in this mode are just fantastic. Go ahead and set it up right there. And it looks like he is ready for some action. It's kind of sad that the Gerwalk mode and the Roid Mode 2 weren't used as much as in the show as in previous Macross shows. And it's kind of disappointing in that way. But let's go ahead and move on and take a look at the Roid Mode on this figure. Alright, and here we have the Roid Mode. And this is fantastic. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the wings being so protruding out like this, but still, from the front and from the side a bit, The figure just looks fantastic. It's just an awesome Valkyrie design. And once again, we got the arms with a nice movement and flexibility. It does come with multiple hands, which I'll be showing in a minute here too. So you got a nice area of movement on those arms. Some flexibility at the wrist with the hands too. Now it's got a nice waist swivel. That's something not a lot of Valkyrie designs have that works well, but this one works very well. And then next we're going to take a look at the gun pod. So this is in its stored mode. And we're going to go ahead and expand it out by pulling out the stock there. Or the butt of the rifle, I should say, sorry. There we go. And then expanding out the main exhaust area. And it just locks into place. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to lock it into place. And then you've actually got a slide forward to expose the trigger. And then this opens up to allow the hand to be placed on there. So let's go ahead and grab the hand here. Alright, and here we have the hand. So we're going to stick this right on here. Now this hand has a ball joint that's kind of out to the side, which makes it easier for when it's holding the weapon. So as you can see, that ball joint there, you just snap it into place. Now the only problem I don't like about the hands is the finger grip doesn't actually go into the trigger. It just kind of sits outside of it. Like he's ready to pull the trigger, but he hasn't really put his finger around it yet. So that's kind of disappointing, but otherwise, it holds the gun very well. And of course, you can get the usual Macross gunslinger pose, with the great posability of the arms and the hands and everything. Another thing I love is the arm joints are still, after having this figure for over almost 2 years, the arm joints are still nice and stiff, even with all the different transformations and of course poses and everything that I've done with it. So as you can see here, I'm having to really work with it. I don't want to loosen them up too badly, but there we go. Almost perfect. There we go. Let's get that hand on there. See? His arms are like, I'm super stiff. And there we go. Classic Macross gunslinger pose. Now another thing I also want to notate too about the figure, it does come with extra antennas for the lasers for the head and an extra horn. So if you accidentally break or mess up the tip of this horn, you have an extra one that comes with it. And extra antennas too, but I recommend taking the horn off when you're transforming the figure to prevent damage to it, because if you run out of both of those, you're kind of out of luck on that. Now here's another neat feature, the combat knives. Yes, one of the few Macross Valkyrie designs to actually come with a combat knife, and it can be stowed in the forearms, as you can see there, and it just folds out. So it's got a lot of nice detail, nice chrome finish. Folds out like that. And of course we got optional hands. Put that right in the optional hand there. And you get two of these knives, so one can be stowed underneath each of the four arms of the figure. Now you can stow them in transformed mode, but it does tend to make the panel that's on the wing pop out a little bit. So I don't recommend it because it doesn't sit very flush and I feel like it'll start rubbing some of the paint off of it. But all in all, this is a great Macross Valkyrie to have. Very posable, very durable, very solid after the transformation. The back is a little bit heavy, but the figure's design and the stiff joints and everything prevent it from falling back and just make it so that you can have just a ton of fun posing the figure. As you can see, the lasers do move, so you can move those forward and back. I highly recommend, if you love the Macross Delta and you love this Valkyrie design and you can find a copy of this figure, definitely get it. There is 4 versions of this figure now out. There is this one, the Hayate version, which is the main character. You also have the other 3 Delta Platoon figures now released. And there is a super pack for this particular figure as well that I want to get my hands on in the near future if I can afford it. But you can probably find this figure or the newer version of it on eBay. I'm not sure if there's any actual website still selling this figure aside from eBay because of the release dates on them. So if you want to get a good copy of it, definitely try and find a new one. A used one has a chance of having the paint chipping that I've experienced, but once again, that's from my handling of the figure. Again though, I want to thank you for joining me here in the GKaiser Age. If you like what you see here, definitely drop a comment in the comment section and tell me what you liked about the figure, if you managed to get one, or if you're interested in getting one, and what your favorite Macross Valkyries are. Also, make sure to favorite, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more cool content like this. Also, check out my Twitter. I do a lot of posts on there where I talk about upcoming things that I have enjoyed, am enjoying, looking forward to, and upcoming uploads for this channel here. I also do streaming on Twitch. I love to stream all kinds of anime gaming and other types of gaming, so definitely catch me on there. That'll be linked below as well. I also have a Facebook page too. Once again though, thank you for joining me here in the GKaiser Age. This is Lucian GKaiser signing out until the next Macross battle.